Alrighty everyone, new patch. For the very first time in a while, LoR got a variety patch a few days ago. And without messing around, we'll have a look at the most popular decks that came with it. Before we dive in though, I'll just quickly explain what a variety patch is and why this is great news for all of us LoR players. If you don't care for that, skip to. Link will also be in the comments. But for the rest, here's the gist of it. With the new roadmap we got in late January, Riot promised a 3 months release cycle for the rest of the year, giving us one balance patch, one variety patch, and one expansion, cycling for an indefinite time, aka until they decide to change it again. The balance patch does exactly what it says it does. It balances cards, hopefully ensuring that most decks stay around a 50% win rate. The expansion is also self-explanatory, giving us new champions and cards with it, and lastly, we have the variety patch. These are patches that introduce new cards and balances at the same time to ensure that older deck types and cards stay up to date with the meta and stay playable going forward, and that is exactly what dropped a few days ago. Looking at the changes, we get new cards for almost all regions. The most notable ones though are the Gem Crafter, which runs well in any elusive focused, Kaylee focused or spell focused deck. Then we have the Blocking Badge Bear, which even though being unbalanced in my opinion, finally gives Demacia a way to deal with said elusives. Then we have Cease's Sanitary for Shadow Isles, which will run great with most of the decks that are already played at the moment, and Formula and Winter's Touch. Both of these cards respectively help out the region by ensuring that they can do what they're designed to do. Formula runs great with any big spell decks like Jax, Lux and Albus Ferris decks, and Winter's Touch ensures you can play FTR and draw in the late game, making this one of the first dual spells in LoR as it changes its behavior on the game state. The last notable changes are a change to Atrocity, making it less of a wildcard in most matches, especially with Hallowed, and an overall buff to Husks, with two of the most essential Husk cards getting buffed. Looking at the patch, there are some clear winners, and we'll have a look at 3 decks I personally think are going to be notable and fun at the same time. Firstly, we have a Demacia control deck. With the Badge Bear, a significant weakness of Demacia has been fixed, and with one Kaylee instead of the Jarvan, you can ensure that you always have a chunky board. As a finisher, you also run one copy of Bloodweaver, and with a win rate of 57%, this deck seems to be one of the most notable decks to watch out for. The core of this deck is the same as with any other Demacian focus deck. Keep the board control and win in the late mid game and early late game. To ensure that, you run a lot of cheap followers and buff cards, and if you want to go crazy with this combo, you can even think about getting a second Kaylee in the deck, as she also buffs all of your units with +1 attack damage. Secondly, we have another Demacia deck, but this time around a spell heavy deck. This deck profits massively from Formula, one of the new cards, and can convince with the 57% win rate yet again. And the idea is also rather simple, with the core being play spells, double them with the Jayce or get your Lux ability, and kill everything and anything with set spells, including the Nexus. As a final finisher, you also run Albus Ferris, which got buffed with the last balance patch, and looking at this deck, while not being the most fun to play in my opinion, it definitely is a force to be reckoned with, as it prevails against many meta decks at the moment, just through its sheer amount of value. Lastly, we have any new Evelynn deck getting revived from the graveyard. The most notable ones in this category would be Evelynn and Kaiser, which sees a decent amount of play at the moment, and Evelynn and Viego. Both of these decks profit massively from the changes made to Husks, getting vulnerable on enemies and more survivability on your key cards. While the Kaiser deck seems to be preferred by most people, probably due to Kaiser being well beloved in general, I prefer the Viego deck, as I just adore the mechanic of stealing the enemy's units, and with the vulnerable from the Husks you can always ensure a good trade. The core of this deck is simple, but not as straightforward as with the 2 previous decks. The most important decision you will need to do constantly is board management, deciding who to give the Husk buffs to and what you actually want on your board. With both the Mists and the Husk continually being created, you also need to ensure you're not running out of space on your board, which seems easy, but can often be a bit confusing, especially if you're not used to this deck. The best tip I can give you here is to protect the Steam under all circumstances, especially in a mirror matchup, as it is straight up broken trading your Mist for free against the enemy units. Secondly, always aim for a good split, getting both Husks and Mists. If you only have Husks on your side of the board, you will be quite sad quite quickly, so beware. After you hopefully got a good idea about the changes and new decks you might run into, let's have a look at the match I've prepared running an Evelynn deck. Before we get to that though, please consider subscribing if you enjoyed the video so far, as that would help me out massively. We're currently trying to get to 100 subscribers, so if you could help with that goal, I would be very grateful. Not the best start to the game, but you know, you can't get the boisterous host in all of the times when you want to. So it is what it is. This I really dislike seeing, so hopefully this is going to stay on board and can block that. Okay, that is a trade I'm always willing to take. The only question I have now is what cards cost does you want to reduce? At Ionia. I mean, probably big removal, I should guess. A Challenger, okay. Winter's Touch, yep. That was the card I was talking about earlier. No surprises here. At least not so far. I just need to mention I don't know anything about his deck, so, you know, there might be a bunch of surprises coming up rather soon than later. If that is the case, only time will tell. Now we have a double attack coming up next turn, dealing at least 6, potentially 7. Kind of depending if he drops anything next turn, but we will definitely just open attack and then go from that. I don't think he's playing a cheesy deck, so we can actually kill the Anivia. If you're playing against Mono Anivia, you never really want to kill her for many reasons. Okay, for now we just scout attack, 3 damage, maybe frostbite. Nope. A stun. Not the end of the world, even though it's not great. Hopefully come over and Soldier then. Should be somewhat of a decent trade. Not the best trade, obviously. Not the worst one either. And we do stop him from playing a bunch of annoying stuff here. We get to deal 2 damage. Not the best, not the worst. Lighted Ravine, again, not the best, not the worst. Most of our board survives, which I do think is, you know, the most important part here. I think we'll go with the Viego. I mean, we haven't seen any big removal spells so far, but the only removal he might be running, considering it's Freya Ionia, is going to be recalls and obliterate and put into tombs, which, you know, not great. But knowing that, if we don't increase our board size to like too much, we should be fine. Let's see if he attacks here. No, he doesn't. Okay. With the boisterous host, and more we don't commit. For now we don't increase the board at all. We just kind of wait. We'll just attack with everything. And doing that like this. Okay, we'll deal a decent amount of damage here. And let's see if that card is dropping. Hopefully not. If so, we can change it. No Catalyst of Eons it is. So he's going to be enlightened next turn, which is going to be somewhat annoying, but I guess not the end of the world. Just draw 2 here. Get a bunch more husks, which is good. Get another steam. Let's see what that is. Gonna be probably the card I was talking about earlier, and indeed it is. Not great, but him playing that now also means we can now increase our board size by a bit, which we will do. And of course this also means he's not gonna be able to play anything now. Do we still go for the steam? I think we might as well. Yes, this is gonna take damage, but we get to deal some damage to his Nexus in turn, so yeah, I think this is fine. Even though we do waste a somewhat decent amount of value here. Attack once, do 5. It's gonna probably drop the 8-8 now. Yep, there it is. Which is not the end of the world. Considering what he has in hand now, he is dead. So we'll just get rid of that now. Let's see if there's a deny. There's no deny. Let's see what he's gonna drop now. Avalanche, so he's officially out of mana now. And I think he's dead. As far as I'm concerned, he should be very dead now. Right? Because this should summon a Hustle Mist, and that should up to like 3-3. Oh no, shit, this is only up. Oh no, 3-3. Oh no, shit, we're missing 1 damage. No. Oh no, we don't, because of. Ah, okay. Right, we still have the Hallowed. That was right. GG, Pharisee. Yeah, we stopped the minion strikes. And I think a large part of that was because we didn't overcommit to the board, which is pretty decent. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something from the video. For now, have a fantastic day, and if you want to see some more decks to get you inspired, maybe consider watching this video.